Hi everyone, so welcome to one more fantastic 5 MCQs for upcoming NEET PG or FMGE exam. So let us start with the first MCQ. The question is, a 36-year-old patient was posted for surgery. He was given glycopyrrolate before anesthesia. So giving a drug before anesthesia, we call it as pre-anesthetic medication. So we call it as pre-anesthetic medication. What is the rationale for giving glycopyrrolate before anesthesia? Option A, muscle relaxation, to decrease anxiety, to induce anesthesia, to decrease secretions and reflex bradycardia. So you have 10 seconds of time to answer this. Yes, if you're telling to decrease secretion and reflex bradycardia, then you're right. So why is this answer? Let us discuss about the drug glycopyrrolate. Glycopyrrolate is an anticholinergic drug. It's an anticholinergic similar to atropine. Now what does it do? It decreases secretions. Which secretions? The secretions from the lung, from the stomach, so that it decreases a complication called aspiration pneumonia. Not only that, during surgery the vagus may get stimulated and there may be bradycardia. So since it's an anticholinergic drug, it increases the heart rate, so it can overcome the bradycardia. So that's why it decreases the chances of reflex vagal bradycardia. So because of these three reasons, we give this glycopyrrolate before anesthesia, that is called pre-anesthetic medication. Another drug is called as atropine. Atropine will also do the same thing. But what is the difference between both? Glycopyrrolate will not cross blood-brain barriers, so the central adverse effects are not seen. But if we give atropine before anesthesia, it crosses blood-brain barrier. And you know that atropine can cause hallucination and confusions in the patient. So the preferred will be glycopyrrolate. So with this reason, the answer for this question is option D. Glycopyrrolate is given before anesthesia to decrease secretions and to decrease reflex vagal bradycardia. Moving on to the next question. A patient had pain and redness in grade 2. Whenever you read this line, pain and redness in grade 2, first thing, common problem comes to your mind is gout. His uric acid levels are high and the doctor gave analgesic. So whenever a patient comes to the hospital with pain, we call it as acute gout, and the drug of choice is NSAIDs. So the doctor has given NSAID. Tell me which NSAID I should not give in acute gout. Tell me the answer. So once the patient has come with that, doctor has given analgesic for pain and gave a drug for prophylaxis. The drug acts by inhibiting uric acid synthesis. The drug may inhibit following enzyme. So whenever a person comes with gout, acute gout, we give NSAID, but we give drugs for prophylaxis. Prophylaxis is given so that they don't get gout attack, pain again and again. So this inhibits uric acid synthesis. Which enzyme is inhibited? You know from biochemistry, purine. From purine you get xanthin. Xanthin you get uric acid. And the enzyme is xanthin oxidase. Now if I inhibit xanthin oxidase, then uric acid is not synthesized and there is decreased chances of gouty arthritis or gouty pain. So what drugs will inhibit that? The name of the drug is allopurinol, which is a purine derivative, and non-purine drug is called febuxostat. So we have two xanthin oxidase inhibitor, allopurinol and febuxostat. If they ask you what is the drug of choice for chronic gout, then the answer would be allopurinol is the drug of choice for chronic gout, that is for prophylaxis. So they're asking what is this enzyme inhibited? It is xanthin oxidase. What is glucarpidase? Glucarpidase is a new enzyme which is used to manage what toxicity? To manage methotrexate toxicity. Methotrexate toxicity, to treat we use an enzyme called glucarpidase. Now what is going to inhibit carbonic anhydrase? You know the drug name. The name is acetazolamide or anything ending with zolamide. They inhibit the enzyme carbonic anhydrase. Then what is this uric acid oxidase? So what happens here? In humans, uric acid is thrown out in the urine, but in the birds, uric acid is converted into allantoin. And this is done by the enzyme uric acid oxidase. So humans don't have this enzyme. So we made the enzyme. The name of the enzyme is pegloticase. Pegloticase is approved for chronic gout. And one more is raspberry case. This is used to manage tumor lysis syndrome, where there is increase in uric acid. So these are the enzymes which are used for managing. One is chronic gout and one is tumor lysis syndrome. So in one of the MCQs, we understood the importance of all these enzymes. Now you have to answer me one more question. What is the antidote for methotrexate toxicity? So please tell me that in the comment section. Okay, tell me that in comment section. Let's move on to the third question. Which of the following drug is long-acting phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitor? Please remember one thing. Anything ending with phil, tadalafil, avanafil, vardenafil, all these are phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitors. So they are asking with the longest acting. Remember, in pharma, if you don't know anything, usually any drug starting with T will be longer acting. So according to that, here the answer will be tadalafil is the longer acting. So let me give one more example. Which ARB is the longest acting? The name is called telmisartan. Telmisartan. Like that, most of the drugs starting with T are usually long acting if you don't know that. But there is an exception for the rule. There is tropicamide, which starts with T, but it is the shortest acting passive mydriatic. So this is an exception for that. And then what about avanafil? Among the fils, the shortest acting is avanafil. Now what happens when you inhibit phosphodiesterase 5? There is increase in cyclic GMP, which will cause smooth muscle relaxation. In the blood vessel, they cause vasodilation. Never give phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitors with nitrates. I have told you repeatedly. So if you combine them, there is severe hypotension. Severe fall in BP can happen. So what is the use of all these phosphodiesterase inhibitors? They are used to manage ED. ED stands for erectile dysfunction. All these are used to manage erectile dysfunction. But the drugs tadalafil and sildenafil, they are also approved to manage one more condition, that is pulmonary hypertension. Pulmonary hypertension. So these are the points what we covered from this MCQ. So the answer is A, tadalafil. Moving on to the next question. A 32-year-old patient had anaphylactic shock and was given injection adrenaline 1 in 1000 by IM route. The actions of histamine are antagonized by adrenaline. This type of antagonism is called chemical, competitive, non-competitive, physiological. Try to answer this question. Yes, if you are telling physiological antagonism, then you are right. See, remember, histamine and adrenaline are physiological antagonist. What is a physiological antagonist? Now, first rule for physiological antagonist is they should be acting on different receptor. Let me tell you, histamine acts on H1 receptor and causes bronchoconstriction. Adrenaline acts on beta 2 and causes bronchodilation. So, when do you call physiological antagonism? The receptor should be different. Second point, the action should be opposite. then we call them as physiological antagonist. So whenever there is anaphylaxis, the culprit is histamine. All the actions of histamine is reversed by adrenaline. That is why it is a drug of choice. Remember, it is given at a 1 in 1000 dilution by IM route, and the dose is 0.3 to 0.5 milligram, or it is written as ml. So either you can give 0.3 to 0.5 milligram or ml you can give. And which is the best muscle to give? It is vastus lateralis. What is chemical antagonism? Chemical antagonism means there should be some chemical reaction. For example, you had gastritis, patient had gastritis, and we add antacids. So there is a chemical reaction and the acid is neutralized. The acid is neutralized. Same thing, heparin. So whenever we give heparin, can you tell me the antidote of heparin? It is PS, protamine sulfate. Heparin is acidic in nature, protamine is basic, and they get neutralized. So this is also chemical antagonism. So the other two options are what is competitive and non-competitive. Competitive and non-competitive. Here the receptors are same only. In competitive, the agonist, the antagonist, both of them bind to the same site. But in non-competitive, same receptor, but the agonist bind to another spot, antagonist bind to another spot. Now this you can overcome. This can be overcome. This you cannot overcome. So this is the meaning of competitive and non-competitive antagonism. So answer for this question is obviously option D, physiological antagonism. Right. Now you tell me one more. Suppose somebody had taken poison and we use a universal antidote called activated charcoal. Activated charcoal. Tell me what is this antagonism? What we call this antagonism as? Try to answer it. Coming to the next question, an ophthalmologist wanted to dilate the pupil for a short period to check the fundus of the eye. Which among the following is the shortest acting anticholinergic mydriatic used? So they are asking the mydriatic, dilate the pupil. The options are phenylephrine, omatropin, tropicamide, and D-atropine. So try to answer this. See, all these options what they are given, they are all mydriatics. They all dilate the pupil. Phenylephrine is a sympathetic drug. It's not a anticholinergic drug, it's a sympathetic drug which will also dilate the pupil and be used for fundus examination, that is fundoscopy. All other options, omatropin, tropicamide, atropine, all are anticholinergics. All are anticholinergic in nature. Now remember, they dilate the pupil, so we can use them in fundoscopy also. Anticholinergic drugs also cause paralysis of accommodation, that is they relax the ciliary muscle, that is going to cause cycloplegia. Now this cycloplegia is important when you do refractive error testing. When you are checking myopia and hypermetropia, that time you can use cycloplegics. So please remember, sympathetics can be used for fundoscopy only, but anticholinergics can be used for fundoscopy as well as refractive testing because of cycloplegic action. But the question is not on that. The question is on which is the shortest acting anticholinergic. Remember, atropine is the longest acting passive mydriatic. It can work for 7 to 10 days. And the shortest acting is tropicamide. Just now I discussed that. That is the shortest acting. So they can ask you these type of questions. Now you have to answer me, what are the myotics used in the practice? Tell me some myotics what you know. Tell me some of the myotics you know. Okay. Now tell me, why do we use atropine in fungal corneal ulcer? I have explained that in the previous fantastic 5 questions. And tell me, what is a cycloplegic preferred in adults? And tell me, what is a cycloplegic preferred in children's? So these are the questions you need to answer, and wait for the answers at the end of this discussion. So any queries, you can follow me in Telegram and follow me at Instagram. So if you like this content, want this session to be continued, please do subscribe, share to your friends, and put your feedback. Thank you all. Take care. Happy learning.